Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's second video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the 10 to 14 days for today's second video. Day 10 will take us to the 2nd of November, and we'll be able to extend out beyond that with its GFS and EDM ensembles. Maybe run around a couple of weeks. We'll have a look at the CFS V2 at the end of the video for the next 4 weeks, so that gets us into the second half of November. I shall get on with that for you in a moment, just to say, but first, the video today was our 6 AM UK weather forecast, so please like, share and subscribe on all of today's videos and content, and thank you so much everybody for doing that for GavsWeatherVids. Right, we're going to start off with situation in the tropical Atlantic. Here we go. We've got two interest areas, and Orange X and Hurricane Tammy. So dealing with your Orange X first of all, that is disturbance 1 with a 60% chance of cyclone formation in the next 2 days and a 60% chance of cyclone formation in the next 7 days. Showers and thunderstorms continue to show signs of organisation in association with a low pressure system located over the southwestern Caribbean Sea. Environmental conditions appear to be favourable for development, and a short-lived tropical depression could form before the system moves inland over Nicaragua early on Tuesday. Regardless of development, this system could produce heavy rains over portions of Central America in the next couple of days. So I don't think that's going to become a tropical storm hurricane, but it might very quickly become a short-lived storm before it moves into land areas. So then we've got Hurricane Tammy, which is a Category 1 hurricane, giving maximum sustained winds of 80 miles per hour with a minimum central pressure of 993 millibars. Clicking on Tammy, we can see that this is going to remain, whoops, that's wrong, clicking on Tammy, we can see that that is going to remain as a hurricane until around the middle part of the week. And then we'll go post-tropical, become a post-tropical storm as it heads towards Bermuda at the end of the week and into the weekend. We go to discussion. We can see it's getting very close to a Category 2 hurricane in around 36 to 48 hours time. It's maximum sustain of 90 miles an hour, which is still Category 1. But it's not that far off a Category 2. I think for a Category 2, you've got to go another 5 miles an hour on the scale. So, you know, that might get to Category 2 status in around 36 to 48 hours time. We'll keep you posted. Central temperature is continuing to edge down, so we're now sitting at 13.1, 2.5 degrees above 61 to 1990 average. That's provisional to yesterday, to the 22nd of October. Going to continue to edge down, I think, over the next few days. So I've got a feeling we're going to finish with 12s, perhaps low to mid 12s, something like that. It will be interesting to see where that ends up by month's end. These are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles over the next couple of weeks. We're in London today. The red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average for London, starting up around to a little bit below average at the moment. We will find those upper air temperatures ticking up briefly about the middle of the second half of the week and then edging back down again. Not a particularly big deviation going on over the next week to 10 days. Rest of October sees those upper air temperatures hovering close to average really. Late on, there are a few quite warm outlier members up here, so we might bring up some very mild air, probably from the southwest, courtesy of the Azores high for the first week of November, but more I think just keeping the upper air temperatures around average then, to be honest. Precipitation wise, going to be a lot of rainfall to come over the next couple of weeks as well for London, so no sign of an end to the unsettled weather, particularly so in the south. Won't be as wet as this up in the north actually, and interestingly if we look at Aberdeen, go there, we can see that yes, there will be precipitation, I should expect this time of year, but not as the precipitation points aren't as big for there as they are, you know, for like London. London looks wetter, I think, so areas further south looking wetter than areas further north in the next week, 10 days in particular. Temperature anomalies from the 23rd to 30th of October, a little bit below average in the north, a little bit above average in the south, not a particularly big deviation though either way. Precipitation anomalies from the 23rd to 31st of October, drier than average in the northwest, but wetter than average more southern, southeastern and eastern regions, a little bit unusually. Notice that it's very wet into France in the next week, whereas it's looking dry up towards Iceland. So there is an element of northern blocking that's going on, and that at the moment is being masked because the air is quite mild coming in with these areas of low pressure and whatnot. But it is a slightly different pattern to normal, typical autumnal zonality in that the jet stream is a bit further southwards than you would typically expect in a zonal autumn spell, and also, you know, we have got that blocking signal away to the north. This is related to Windflow Map from earth.nullschool.net. So we've got a little area of low pressure to west of Island Day, another low coming up from the Bay of Biscay, so that could bring more wet weather into the south across England, Wales tomorrow. And then the main low is in the North Atlantic, and this main low will be sending its weather front and setting in a westerly flow as we get into the middle and second half of this coming week. Right, let's go through chart data. Established UK Met Euro run looks midnight on Thursday. You see that very nicely with that area of low in the Atlantic. That's sending its way from off the Atlantic at midnight on Thursday. The position of weather front is actually through here, and the high mate will be turning. We will be taking to a proper westerly, so a return of the westerlies really through the second half of this week. Into the weekend, low pressure keeps on coming as well, so further showers and or longer spells of rain. This low we need to keep an eye on from Saturday into Sunday. That has the potential to deepen quite significantly and maybe bring a pretty significant blow of strong winds and heavy rain across more southern areas Saturday night and into Sunday. Notice there is that blocking signal I'm talking about as well. So up towards Iceland, we have got an area of high pressure. It's a relatively weak area of high pressure, but it's a little bit different, a little bit unusual to typical winter zonality, and therefore the jet stream is actually going further southwards. The black line's a rough position of the jet stream, so we are actually on the cool side of the jet here, albeit the areas of low pressure still bring relatively mild air in from off the Atlantic. But by that point, we are starting to draw in some colder air potentially into the far north of Scotland. So we need to keep an eye on that as we move towards the end of October and maybe into November. Icon, again, with low pressure in from off the Atlantic on Thursday. That will be bringing a lot of wet, windy weather in with it into the weekend. Again, we have this area of low pressure down here. Got to keep an eye on that. This is midnight Sunday. Got to keep an eye on that. That might bring some very wet and windy weather in across particularly England and Wales overnight Saturday and into Sunday. Remember that low pressure sits over the top of the country as we get through to Monday, so very unsettled with showers, longer spells of rain, etc, etc, etc. That's how we're looking to get to the end of the icon run. The low pressure event is in the North Sea. We're drawing in these cool northwesterly winds again, a little bit of blocking up towards Greenland and Iceland. The GFS midnight run once more bring that area of low pressure in from off the Atlantic. That's got lots of unsettled weather with it. Into the weekend, so we've got one area of low pressure sits across England, Wales, another low off the west coast of France. They get together during Sunday and potentially bring some very wet weather down across the south. Meanwhile, further north, it's dry but colder, with winds being drawn in from more of a north or a northeast direction. Winds go into the north by the time you get through Tuesday, with low pressure to the east, a ridge out to the west, so a chilly northerly. And then we're back into westerlies or southwesterlies again as we get to day 9 and 10, with milder weather coming in from the southwest, bringing mild air down to south, but also unsettled in the north. In the extended range, well, that mild air doesn't last more than a day or so, and then we're back into those cool northwesterly winds again, and just looking very flat and zonal really as we go through the first week of November. High pressure south, low pressure to the north, so wind and rain coming in from off the Atlantic there. But GFS 6Z once more looking quite unsettled through the middle part of the week, with low pressure heading in from off the Atlantic into the weekend. Again, we've got to keep an eye on this area of low pressure just here, Saturday and Sunday. That has the potential to become quite a significant feature. I've got a feeling we might get another named storm at the weekend, but it just depends whether that low deepens, deepens as that GFS 6Z run is doing so, or whether it's a slacker low. But potentially very unsettled over the weekend anyway, with heavy rain and strong winds. And then into the beginning of next week, the low pressure gets out into the North Sea. We start to draw in the wind from more of a north or a northeasterly direction, so going cool and staying unsettled really as we come to the end of October and into November, with further low pressures heading in from the Atlantic at day 10. Back into a cool, showery northerly there beyond day 10 on the 3rd of November, and then more wet, windy weather dries in from the west as we go into the extended range. That's how we finish up with the GFS sits there on the 8th of November. High pressure is both to our south and our east. Low pressure is away to the north and the west. If you enjoyed the video, please do you like, share and subscribe. Thank you so much everybody for doing that. Why not drop a comment and let us know what you think about this and all of our videos, and don't forget to tell your friends about GavsWeatherVids. I mean, thank you so much everybody for doing that for us. Okay, but GM once again with low pressure heading in from off the Atlantic on Thursday. That's been plenty of wet weather with it into the final weekend of October. Not as deep with that secondary low, but I think it does bring it in. So we've got the low down here midnight on Sunday, Saturday, Sunday, the Bay of Biscay, and then by the time we get through to midnight on Monday, that low is sitting somewhere across northern England. So that's come up from the south and probably hasn't brought that much in way of strong winds, but probably has brought another very heavy spell of rain to many parts of the country. Then we head up towards days 8, 9, 10, and we start to drop a much milder southwesterly wind then as we get into the beginning of November. So turning a lot milder, but still unsettled. Low pressure, deep low pressure is still out in the Atlantic, suggesting further wet weather to come. And then the ECM WF rounding it all off with low pressure again remaining in charge in the ascendancy through the end of the week and into the weekend. We've got this area of low pressure down here at midnight on Sunday. By the time we get through to midnight on Monday, that area of low pressure is sitting across the northern half of the country, so suggesting again perhaps not all that much in way of strong winds, but certainly risk of some heavy rain. And then we move up towards days 8, 9, 10, and high pressure again blocking away to the northeast. Low pressure coming in from off the Atlantic, so continue to be quite unsettled. Winds coming in from relatively mild south or southeasterly direction ahead of these areas of low pressure. Again, it's not a typically unsettled spell, though we have got relatively high heights up towards Greenland and Iceland, and we do have high pressure back in over Scandinavia again there as we get to day 10. Not going to produce anything cold for the foreseeable future, but it is of note, I think, that we are seeing these blocking signals as we're progressing through latter October and into the beginning of November. Not necessarily suggesting that those blocking signals will continue, but as I say, it's of note and nothing more than that at the moment. Right, this is a precipitation forecast based on that ECM run from Meteo.com, so plenty of wet weather to come over the next sort of day or so. We're going to have rain moving up from the south tonight and into tomorrow. There'll be further showery bursts across England, Wales in particular. Remember, middle of the week we'll see wet, windy weather spreading in across the whole country. That takes us into a very showery weekend, and then on into Sunday. Well, up comes that wet weather from the south, Saturday into Sunday. That brings heavy rain, particularly again for central and eastern parts and southern parts of England. And we get to day 10, and you've guessed it, further wet weather is piling up from the south. So it is an unsettled signal. Now I forgot to get the options on the table up from the ECM Ensembles. I'm just going to pause the video and get them up for you, and we'll have a look at those in a second. Okay, there we go. Options are up. So these are the options on the table within the ECM Ensembles today. For day 10 from the Icelandic Met Office gets us to the 2nd of November. 12 members of the ECM Ensembles with high pressure to the north and also to the east as well. Low pressure south-southwest. That brings up the wind from a southerly direction. So mild, but this low could bring some rain into southern parts of the country in particular. We've got Temp, that's a bit stronger with the high pressure to the east and the low pressure further away from us in the Atlantic. So again, that's drawing up the wind from like a southerly southeast direction. Should be quite mild and is drier. We've got another 10 with deep low pressure coming in off the Atlantic, so that continues to look very unsettled, albeit there's some blocking away to the north and the northeast. We've got 8 having high pressure taking over to the north. That's drier and probably cooler as well, maybe even colder with winds coming in from more of an east or a northeast direction. 6 again with a high pressure to the northeast, low pressure to the west southwest. Again, we're drawing up wind from a southerly southeasterly direction. With that should be should be mild but also unsettled. And then we've got 5 again with low pressure in from off the Atlantic. So most of the options still looking unsettled at day 10. There is the possibility of that high pressure or higher pressure to the north and the east could be a little bit stronger and start to settle things down. But I think up to day 10, most of the options still look quite unsettled, albeit relatively mild. In 2 weeks' time, these are the options that we've got, and it gets us to the 7th of November. 13 members of the NHC Ensembles keep the deluge coming, with deep low pressure in the Atlantic into Western Europe as well. We've got 11 with high pressure towards Scandinavia. Low pressure is to our south and southwest. Winds coming up from southeasterly direction with that. Most unsettled in the southwest, dry to the north and the east. We've got another 11 just here with high pressure sitting over to the east coast. That should be mostly dry and mild. Bring the wind up from the southwest with that. We've got 9 keeping the unsettled weather going again with low pressure in off the Atlantic, and then we've got 7 with high pressure over France, low pressure to the north. That brings the driest weather into the south. Most unsettled weather is in the north, and it will be very mild as well with winds in from the southwest. So even out to 2 weeks' time, to be honest, most of the options look unsettled there. If we put the 13 here together with the 11 here and the 9 there and the 7 there, clearly the strong majority of each ensembles in favour of unsettled conditions continuing right the way to 2 weeks out. CFS B2 finally beats a 500 millibar high tonight, broken down to week periods. The first week period takes from the 23rd, 29th of October. This next week will be unsettled with low pressure in from the Atlantic. There is a blocking signal away to the north as well. Not in a position to bring anything cold to us for now, for the time being, due to the position below pressure. So just unsettled and mild despite blocking. Week 2 is going to be the 30th of October, 5th of November. Again, low pressures in off the Atlantic into Western Europe. High pressures down towards Spain and Portugal. Week 3 remains very unsettled. It's the 6th to the 12th of November. Again, deep low pressure to our north and northwest. So that keeps the deluge going. And that carries on to week 4 as well. It's the 13th to the 19th of November. No changes really. CFS very keen on keeping things very unsettled. Always mild winds coming in from west or from the southwest, but with low pressure in its ascendancy, plenty of rain still to come. All good news for the GavsWeatherVids autumn forecast, but not such good news for anybody who's living in a flood-prone area, maybe. I should have gone off on that tangent, should I? Anyway, thank you so much, everybody, for watching. That's it for today's videos. I'll just tell you what's coming up tomorrow. Please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. And drop a comment on the video as well. Thank you so much. We need to put around 40 subscribers now, get ourselves to 17.1k. So we're getting ever closer now to 17.1k. If you could give us a sub, that would be amazing. Thank you so much, everyone, for doing that. Right, I will now just tell you what's coming up tomorrow. So we're going to have the 6 a.m. UK weather forecast, the EC extended forecast for Europe, and there'll be a 10 to 14 there as well. Keep checking back to the channel for all of the content, and thank you so much, everyone, for doing that. But for this video and for today's videos, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.